Welcome back, average gamers.
Whoa.
Welcome back, average gamers. It's your boy.
And Landon.
Landon and Jameson coming at you hot with another fireball of facts, theories, and opinions.
Podcasting all over your face.
Oh, God.
We're here, we're now.
That's right.
It's November.
And this is episode number 3.
There hasn't been much snow, but we're bringing it today.
Yeah. We're just snowing down the facts and knowledge that you need to survive the holiday season.
A 2-week period, limited event.
Yeah. So we have quite a few things that we are hoping to get to, all of them today. This is definitely more scheduled than some of our other episodes. Because we
a little bit more planning.
Yeah, a little bit more strict on the timeline because we tend to tangent or
a little bit less hype around games that we're obviously going to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's gone quiet.
Yeah,
it's overcast.
Yeah, it's the fall of the video game season right now, which is kind of weird. So things we want to talk about are in order: holiday season or seasonal content in video games, which obviously we'll go into detail about. And then we also want to talk about
Death Stranding.
That's right. So Landon's been playing it. I've only watched reviews and video critiques, but I think it'll be fun to talk about.
It's very person to person.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of fights the norms a bit, so a lot more personal relations to the overviews and ideas that usually other people have.
Mm-hmm.
Reviews.
Yeah, so I think that'll be fun. And then we're also going to talk about it's time! Yu-Gi-Oh! Why?
He had a dream.
Because I had a dream about it, and I used to play it a lot, competitively years ago, many years ago, many moons, 7 years ago. But yeah, I used to play it, and I've really been urging to play it, so this is our podcast. We do what we want, live our life on the edge, so we're going to talk about maybe a little bit of Yu-Gi-Oh!
Trickle a little bit of turns in here, maybe see what our life points are at the end of this hour.
See who we can send to the Shadow Realm? Who knows? We'll see. So
you'll just have to find out.
You'll just have to stick around and see who we send to hell, the Shadow Realm, because 4Kids Entertainment had to nerf hell.
Yeah, it's not a big word, hell.
So, starting off, seasonal content in video game. Landon, what is some of your experience or knowledge, or even just an overview of seasonal content in video games?
When I try to think of the first time that I sort of had oh, it's Christmas now in this game. For whatever reason, I think of the photo option or editor in Halo 3, where you could customize your own celebratory seasons, and you can make a Christmas map.
They had that? Was it you can turn snow on and off, or Christmas trees?
You go to forge on a big snow map Avalanche or something.
Oh, okay.
And then the other one that's coming to mind is it Crash? That's a Call of Duty map, right?
Yes, Christmas Crash.
I saw it on the remastered. They've got Christmas Crash. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I can't quite pinpoint the origin.
Yeah.
Because I feel it goes on a bit more. Definitely goes back more.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, the thing that really put into perspective to me the importance of oh, this is cool. This is seasonal content that's holiday themed in a video game was Animal Crossing for the GameCube, the OG Animal Crossing back in 2004, 2005 maybe.
Mm-hmm.
And in that game, it's not a live service like games are nowadays, where they just have live updates. Oh, you turn on your PlayStation or your Xbox or your PC, there's an update.
Calendar or something?
But yeah, back in Animal Crossing, it was just based on the internal calendar of your console. So when it was December, it would start snowing, and when it got closer to Christmas, there would be exclusive items just in-game. But the way that the game kind of navigated around that to prevent people from cheating was, I think there was also some other clock to some degree. The game would know when you would turn off your game without saving, right? and there were other internal like codings
okay.
like that would kind of prevent people
Almost like
from
a cartridge clock or something weird.
something like that. I mean, obviously it was a disc, so I'm trying to think of maybe how that would have worked, but I think it was a mixture of just like how the game was coded with the memory of the console. Was like, oh, this person keeps setting back the clock to just, even though I remember doing that with like TK.
Yeah, it seems to be on and off for different games. Like, oh, let's just turn it back an hour and it works. And other times, like, oh, I'm 100 years old.
Yeah. Whoops, my character's dead.
Oh shit, I'm 900 now.
Yeah. So, but yeah, Animal Crossing I think was the first game that like hit me like, oh crap, like.
That's where I am.
That's me. I could celebrate my holidays in my games. So I don't have to have my toxic family ask me stupid questions over celebratory dinners.
I can celebrate my seasons here.
Yeah,
We don't even ever deal with anyone.
with Tom Nook. That guy's gonna give me some bells, dude.
No pain.
Yeah, no
pain in this
just
Christmas.
joy. And so going from things like Animal Crossing and its seasonal content all the way to what you brought up, like Call of Duty having Christmas Crash, even though I don't think that ever came to consoles, it was there for PC players, and then they added it for the
That makes
remaster.
sense. Yeah.
That came out 2-3 years ago. So I think that the reason that this is worth talking about is because, kind of like we already touched upon, it adds a layer of immersion that is unique, right?
Yeah.
So if you're playing a game like Destiny is a big game that does that. It has like during Halloween, I forget, Festival of the Lost, which is like the Halloween where they're celebrating the people who have passed.
So it's like a Destiny holiday.
Mm-hmm. And in Destiny, the game, what you earn is like literal masks, and the side quest rewards is things like candy, and then you like turn in the candy to like earn different masks. And then there are challenges where it's like, oh, if you want to get this unique Halloween-themed gun, even though it's kind of just a reskin, you have to wear this mask and collect so many of this candy while you're wearing that mask, you know? And then they also have a Christmas one, which is, I forget what that's called. It's been 2 years since I've played Destiny 2 and done the Christmas content. But anyway, point is, it's fun, it's immersive, and I think it is very important for games to do, especially nowadays with games trying to be like live content, live service.
Seasons and resets afterwards.
Mm-hmm. One game that I thought did it, but I can't confirm, was Fallout 4. Because I remember playing Fallout 4 and seeing Christmas trees around Diamond City. And I started playing the game when it first came out in November of like 2015.
Is that like
2016.
the Vegas trip?
Huh?
Is that like the Vegas trip, Diamond City?
Oh, no.
I'm thinking
no,
New Vegas.
yeah,
Sorry,
you're thinking,
definitely
no,
New
it's all
Vegas.
good. No, so like in Fallout 4, Diamond City is just like the baseball field city, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in the middle of like Boston. And I remember playing it, because I got it the November it came out in like 2016. And then I remember after playing it for about a month, in December, I remember seeing Christmas trees around the town that I just normally didn't see. And I was like, is this live content, like, based on my calendar in-game? But, like, I also remember, like, playing the game in, like, August, and being like, there's a Christmas tree that popped up. Is this a glitch? I don't know. Yeah. Like, canonically, the nuclear fallout in Fallout happened in October, I think. And so there were still, like, Halloween decorations everywhere. And that's just, like, how it happened. So when you see Halloween stuff, it's not seasonal content.
Everyone died.
Yeah, it's like, it's just there. It's just left there from the people who died from nuclear fallout. So, kind of what I want from video game developers is really, I think I'd be very willing to spend money and purchase microtransactions if their seasonal content was much more robust. Like Call of Duty, for example. Black Ops 4, which came out last year, it had like a sleigh bell melee weapon. I don't think did I spend money on it? I don't remember. I just remember I acquired it. Maybe it was like part of like a free update, like, oh, you log in within the time. Anyway, I just remember, like, even though I don't use melee weapons, it was something I picked up for a few games, and I tried to like go around and just hit people in the head with the sleigh bell to kill them, and it was fun. And I think that even simple things like, or even like weapon camos, like getting a a Christmas present camo for your assault rifle.
Yeah, that was cool.
Is like, it's fun, man. Like that gets me to get to play the game. And so,
what about a gingerbread man costume?
Yeah, that'd be kind of ridiculous. That'd be like almost
Ops,
that's like crossing the.
Black Ops did that though.
Well, the gingerbread costume was in Advanced Warfare.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I mean,
Call of Duty,
yeah, Call of Duty, right? Like it's kind of just at least recently known for being over the top and ridiculous. And it's funny because I think that there was a huge section of people who actually enjoyed that content, even though it was over the top.
Oh, well, it was like a creative wish, too, so you kind of have to have some endearment for it.
Yeah. And then you have, like, another large section of people who are like, don't you touch my Call of Duty!
This
like,
is my realistic experience.
Yeah. And so now that we're here with, like, Modern Warfare, which is a game I'm probably investing most of my time in, especially this holiday season, as there's not much coming out, I can't say for sure if I want holiday season content in my air quote realistic military shooter, because I'm not convinced that that would really enhance my experience. Unless there was snow in the maps, then that would be cool.
Hello.
We're just talking.
Oh, you can close it there. Yeah.
The new stuff is in the oven. So, not being totally interested with the content if it's not really...
Well, so like going back to the original Modern Warfare with Christmas Crash, that was a cool update. You want to know why? Because it was only one map, and it made that Middle Eastern crash, like ruined city. It just was like, oh, I'm gonna cover it in snow, and anytime someone calls in an airstrike, rather than like a jet flying over, it's gonna be Santa's sleigh, and he goes, ho ho ho, and drops presents and explodes. Like, it was so over the top that people were able to easily separate it from their normal and annual experience with the game, that having that one seasonal content update was like worth quite a bit, even though it's free for all PC players and free for when they remastered the game for all players of all consoles. So I think stuff like that is like super important, especially because, again, going to Modern Warfare right now, there's not really much in the game because there's no seasonal content, there's no prestiging. So like, I max level and I can't level up anymore. I can't do anything.
Enlonged playthrough.
Yeah, like I'm not bored with the game.
Like an end game thing.
Yeah, I'm not bored with the game. There's just no carrot dangling in front of my face saying like, hey, progress this way or do this. So it's like, now, literally at this point, it's just, do I want to play the game or not? And that's like, do I want to just experience the mechanics of the game or not? It's like, I do, but it would be a lot more incentive if there was like, oh, you can experience the fun of the game and unlock more stuff.
Here's a few challenges for you that are worth your time.
Yeah. And so even though they are going to have seasons where it's like, oh, for this 2-month period, you're going to level up your seasonal rank and then unlocks those seasonal content. Again, it's not so much focused on
competitive
like holidays.
influence.
That's mostly just focused on like, oh, if you're playing the game, you're going to be leveling up. So it's not based on like a ranking system or anything. It's just like Fortnite's Battle Pass, right? Where you just play the game and you just level up through that Battle Pass until the next one comes out, and then you buy that one and you level up through it and get content for each time you level up.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that's like a different... Those are like seasons. That's not necessarily seasonal content. I mean, I guess it is, just in a different context.
Yeah.
But
event content.
Yeah.
That's kind of the topic.
I think seasonal content, like holiday season, Halloween, maybe not so much Thanksgiving, unless you want to have like a harvest festival themed type thing.
Borderlands had a pretty fun little October season.
I feel like there's like a turkey that you like a turkey boss in Borderlands too, but I could be no. I know there's a snowman.
They can make something that gobbles. There's got to be a gobbler somewhere.
Yeah.
Well, this was a very spooky skeleton captain.
Yeah.
But then, like all the loot in that game, you can only get during that time period.
Right.
There's like a special ability that they put on top of the guns, just like a fear mechanic.
Right. I played the update for a few hours, found a few guns with the fear mechanic, and I was just like, this is fun, and then Call of Duty came out that night. And I was like, alright. But yeah, exactly. I think even though, like, I'm not completely done with Borderlands. I'm just waiting for the DLC to come out. But I was not planning on touching it until that update came out.
The Maliwan one or the Halloween one?
The Halloween one.
Okay.
Yeah, so I wasn't planning on touching it until the next actual DLC content drop. But the fact that they even had that Halloween thing, I would have played it had Call of Duty not came out that exact weekend.
Yeah.
You know? So, like, it literally makes a game that's, I don't want to say unplayable, but maybe not, like, providing enough incentive for a player to keep playing.
Yeah.
Like myself, I'm kind of done everything. I have the characters I want leveled up. I have legendary items for my characters. But like you add something like a seasonal content update, and it's like that game that I'm putting on hold right now. Suddenly I'm gonna play on it. You know, I'm gonna do something. And then again, it's just it's like I think there's also sentimental value. Growing up with Animal Crossing and its seasonal content, or even just a few years ago. Like the memories I have of like playing Destiny 1 and the Destiny 1 seasonal content, that was a very endearing experience. And so it's like, you know, I have my holidays in real life, but it's also, I want to celebrate my holidays in my virtual lives, you know? Like it's just fun. It's just novelty, and I think it adds a lot to the game and the community. So, I don't know, man.
What's a Titan holiday like?
A what?
A Titan holiday.
Oh, a Titan holiday, yeah. So I'm really just hoping to see more of it. I think a huge missed opportunity. Well, maybe not for Modern Warfare, but maybe for something like Black Ops 4. I think they did a good job with their seasonal content. I didn't take that game seriously when it first came out. I wanted it to be kind of funny or over the top in some of the cosmetics, and they had Halloween stuff. They had Christmas stuff. I thought it was fun. And I can't say I necessarily want that for Modern Warfare unless it's just like we're gonna make a snowy map, and you can go into a playlist where it's only this snowy map, and everyone gets like candy cane melee weapons or something. I don't know. I don't know. But again, it has to be like an exclusive.
Did they have Search and Destroy with a gift?
Oh.
Like a gift bomb?
I mean, not in Modern Warfare.
Well, they should.
Yeah, they should. That would be fun. Like just like. They should choose a map, make that one map snow covered, and you can only play Search and Destroy on that, and just have it like in a unique playlist that people can go to.
Yeah.
And then just be like, oh, but the bomb is like a present, and reindeer fly out of the bomb site or something, and Santa goes like, ho ho ho, Merry Christmas.
Eggnog. There's an eggnog.
Yeah. It's just
all your grenades are eggnog.
Yeah. That'd be so cool. Like I would literally just play that game mode, even though I didn't even get anything from it. It's just the fact that it's seasonal content just adds this level of immersion that I think is cool. But
because like I think there's different ways to look at immersion. Because the first time I thought about it was like transporting your head somewhere else. You forget what's actually happening where you are.
Mm-hmm.
But then I guess there's also immersion where something's too far taken away from your experience to where it seems odd or like illogical.
Yeah. I think immersion can go multiple ways and be provided through multiple dynamics. Kind of like what you said first is that you put yourself into the game, like you transport yourself into the game itself and you're immersed in that. But it can also go the other way. The themes and experiences I'm having in real life, if my game can find a way to bleed into my real life, then that's immersion too. So
I bought a Monster and played Death Stranding and drank it at the same time as Norman Reedus.
That's right. If I'm playing Death Stranding and all their Monster energy drink propaganda.
Sometimes you need an energy boost, and I'll be right there with him. I'd be thinking the screen with my can.
Well, and then even going to like Call of Duty, like with their whole like, oh, buy Doritos and Mountain Dew and get double XP. Like that's a form of immersion that many people choose to participate in, right? Like, oh, I'm gonna eat this stuff and I'm gonna get my double XP from this stuff. Like I'm not gonna say like it's an in-depth immersion, but it does put your mind in the sense of like community of like, oh, I'm buying this stuff and it's enhancing like I'm buying. There's
a connection to the real world and to the game.
It's like a light. Well, the game's bleeding into real life, and real life is bleeding into the game a little bit. You know.
Yeah, because like with I don't know. I guess not exactly with television. Almost looking at something so far away through a little tiny screen that's so crazy and comprehensible.
Yeah, and then you know, kind of hoping to get into Death Stranding here pretty soon, because I do really want to talk about it. But again, even just going into like immersion, like Death Stranding, like you were saying, Monster Energy drink, I can see people legitimately. I wouldn't necessarily do this myself, but I can see people finding entertainment in like, oh, in this game, Norman Reedus or my character is drinking Monster Energy drink. I by default, even before I played this game, I already liked Monster Energy drink. So I'm going to go buy it and drink it while I'm playing this game. Like, it's a little corny, and it's, again, not necessarily something that would work on me, but I can see people doing that
it might
for like, different levels of
sway
immersion.
my energy drink preference a little bit, too.
Yeah. Yeah, probably will. Like, I like Monster Energy drink. I don't drink it that often. I actually do, for the most part, try to avoid Monster Energy drink. Like, as well as, like, you know, most energy drinks.
Yeah.
The only air quote energy drink that I would even drink on a normal basis would be like Mountain Dew Kickstart, but that's because it's like a lighter energy drink. It's like a little less caffeine, a little less of like the bull sperm. What is it, taurine or whatever it is? Like, you know, a little bit less bull sperm.
A little softer on your wallet.
Yeah, a little softer on the wallet, exactly. So it's like, you know, but yeah, for
just
sure.
a little something, just a little like.
Yeah. But yeah, and then also like games like you know, Detroit Become Human, or even a game like Death Stranding, which kind of has these human elements to the game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's immersion, right? Like, if I'm playing a game and it's making me emotional, or even if I'm playing a game like Detroit, where a lot of the themes are like what makes us human, what makes us unique or individuals, or even part of a community, like, that's immersion. Like, even if I'm not necessarily putting myself in Detroit with these, but like again, I'm just saying, if I'm not immersed in one sense, I could be immersed in the sense of like, oh, the themes in this game are actually touching my life personally because of this scenario I'm in. So like, there's
and you manage to stay in while it's being delivered to you, the plot, and
yeah. So, but anyway, yeah, let's move over to Death Stranding, because I actually really do want to talk about it. I think it's I unfortunately have not been able to play it yet. I don't know when I want to play it. It's just one of those things where it's like, based on the cost, do I want to wait till it's $30 or $40? Maybe one of those like PlayStation greatest hits that's like $20, you know? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to wait too long, but yeah. So what's your take on it so far?
I'd say if you're on edge, you could wait till 40, because it is such a counterintuitive game to I guess what's most common and popular. Because like, as far as game design, I think that's mainstream. It's usually something's within your grasp, you go achieve it, and then you feel accomplished afterwards. But a lot of what Death Stranding does is everything's further away. It takes a little bit more time. It's a little more difficult, a little more trying to get there, and things as simple as walking become a challenge. To where there's very little hand holding, but that's what I think people see at the beginning of the game. What they feel like is like, oh, it's just walking around. It's a walking simulator, but the game's like just beautiful at the same time. What have you heard from reviews, at least, or secondhand?
So kind of a lot of the reviews in summary are saying a mixture of A, this game is too monotonous, I don't like it.
That makes sense.
B, this game is monotonous, but there are elements to it that are enriching and endearing, and so I like it a lot.
I like that one more.
And then there's also the review that's kind of middle ground, like, this is tedious, so that like gives it negative points, but it's also enriching and endearing in some ways, so that's like good. And so since I can't forgive the monotony or the tediousness of the game, this game is just okay. So that's kind of like the general of like,
okay, yeah, it's
like, oh, this game is tedious and I don't like it at all, or oh, I can admit this game is tedious, but I can look past that because that's kind of the point of the later elements in the game, like the community-driven elements. And then probably the most profound, or like most imprinting review of the game, or maybe like not the review. So there's this YouTube channel that I recently started following called Girlfriend Reviews. I would normally see it in my suggested feed on YouTube, but I would kind of ignore it because I was just like, oh, like maybe it's a little gimmicky. No, it's a legitimately good YouTube channel where
Girlfriends of gamers are making reviews of games, or is it?
No, so Girlfriend Reviews is a YouTube channel where the girl is doing the narrating for the video, but the boyfriend does all the editing because he's a professional, like in Hollywood and for other YouTubers, he edits their videos, so it's very good editing. But he edits their video. He also does all the writing for it. But it is a and the girlfriend does work in unison with the boyfriend to kind of draw out the themes of the video. But each video is like, oh, this isn't a review of the game. This is a review of what it's like to live with a boyfriend who plays this game. That's how most of the episodes are. And I would say I would recommend that channel probably more than any other channel to most people because Universally is just a good channel, really good writing, really fun and entertaining editing. Again, the writing is according to them mostly from the boyfriend, but the delivery of the girl who's doing all the narrating, who you kind of hear more, is her delivery of it is very, again, endearing. It's sweet. It's also like fun, and it kind of pokes fun at game elements because they started the channel because the boyfriend was playing Breath of the Wild a lot, and every time he would open up the menu, it would make that ding. And she got so crazy with it. Like, she was just like, I have to live with this. I'm not playing the game. And so they started the channel kind of based on that, actually, of like what it's like to live with someone who plays games so much. Yeah. Because every time you would open, and it's an open world game, he'd open the map every 10 minutes to look at where he needs to go. So bling, bling, bling. And so she would just drive her crazy. Like, she plays games. Like, she loves Nintendogs and Animal Crossing, and she loves to play games very casually, but it like their inspiration was like living with someone who plays games adamantly like her boyfriend does. This is a girl anyway, so she does legitimately watch her boyfriend play a lot of games and critique them, and so her critique or her girlfriend review video or their girlfriend review video of Death Stranding was probably the most profound one that I watched. I would recommend you just go watch it. But to summarize kind of like the analysis that they give in their video for girlfriend reviews is that watching my boyfriend play this game for the first, I think, like 5 hours, he was about to quit. Like, he was like, this is so tedious and annoying and stupid. I keep dropping my packages. I have to keep my balance. Like, this is just tedious to the point to where I don't want to play it. But then after that, they open up the game mechanics to the community, like, oh, the community can build this road, or the community can build this bridge or this ladder. And then it opened up the game to what it was supposed to be. Like, it gave you an appreciation for the fact that this game was tedious, and so you appreciated the fact that everything in the game at that point was no longer like tedious. It was based on you helping other people. Yeah. The whole element of the game from that point on is only community driven, and there's no negative feedback. There's no, like, you can only give thumbs up to this bridge. Do you like it?
You can give multiple thumbs up, and if I don't like their sign that much, I just give them one. So it's like, thanks for trying. It's really not that good of a sign. But then other ones I can get, like, I think I've got 200 likes, and same, you get a time period to send likes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, and I think even in their video, Girlfriend Reviews, they had a section of Hideo Kojima, the creator, just kind of breaking down how he wanted to make the elements of the game. He's like, oh, I don't want this to be a negative. I don't want there to be negative feedback at all. Mm-hmm. You give thumbs up, or you just create something for your, like, if you don't like this thing that this person or this community built, just start building your own, Yeah. And I think that I'm not going to go into too many, I'm not going to try to be articulate about why that's like a beautiful thing in gaming, but to sum it up, it's like, it's just nice that there's this element that is unique to Death Stranding, where it's like, yeah, the first few hours of the game are tedious, but that's intentional, so that when you go out and you see that, like, this bridge was built by multiple players and the resources they gathered through unselfish means.
If you haven't dropped your entire inventory in the lake before, and then you see a ladder right where you died last time, it's like, oh, thank goodness. Yeah. I can get over.
Yeah. And so I think that that's like the unique element of it, that the people who kind of stick to it and use those community created, I guess, assets or like bridges, ladders, all that stuff. I think that that's like, oh, I spent so many hours being pissed at this game, and now I still am trying to be pissed at this game, but this game has provided an element for the community to prevent me from getting pissed at this game. Like, the community held my hand, you know? This game is trying to be rough with me.
A lot of the time I will go out of my way just to like help that bridge get built all the way. Because you can contribute little bits by little bits, and you can find your, I guess they're not related to you, but if anyone loses cargo in the middle of the environment, you can go pick it up and you can take it to like where their last resting place was. So you can just like return everyone's lost packages.
Just be a mailman.
Yeah. And then it's like, I'm not going to do the actual story game. I'm just going to help everyone out right here. And then you get feedback, like you'll see, like if you make a bridge, there'll be a little notification like, yada yada, I gave you likes.
Yeah.
And it's nice to go back to an older part of the game you contributed and like, holy shit, a lot of people like this bridge I made. Really proud of this bridge.
I think Hideo Kojima, for people who do know, because if you know, you know, for Hideo Kojima, he has a very weird, for lack of a better term, way of writing stories and plots and character development and even elements in the game.
Yeah. Mechanics that overlap with a sort of
even
vibe or
mechanics.
feelings.
All the way from the Metal Gear series to Silent Hill. Was it PT?
I think that was the demo one.
Yeah, the demo one that he and Guillermo del Toro created to try to make, but before Konami was like, get out of here. You
no.
No. So like,
look at the fine print.
Yeah, even the elements in that, and then of course going to Death Stranding. There's like.
Guillermo del Toro's still there.
I don't know what Death Stranding. Yeah, I don't know what Death Stranding is plot wise, but I don't need to know that this is like a beautiful game that provides, again, in essence, unique elements to only Death Stranding that no other game has. This game provides unique elements that make the game special and stand out from other games. That enough is like makes me want to play it. Like. In Metal Gear Solid, I was invested in the story because I kind of played all of them. I grew up playing Metal Gear Solid, even the first one. And so the story continuing was pretty cool for me growing up. But I feel like a lot of people who haven't really played Metal Gear Solid, maybe only played like Metal Gear Solid 5 that came out in 2015, which is a good game.
Is that the Phantom Pain?
Yeah. Okay. I feel like a lot of people who played that, their desire to play it was like, oh, a cool action stealth game. It wasn't, the continuation or like the adding to this lore or story. Because a lot of people were like, Metal Gear Solid was kind of daunting. There's too much like crying babies and psycho people like with psychic abilities.
Boxes.
Yeah, boxes. So many boxes. And you can put...
There's even more now.
Yeah, and you can put like softcore, like... I don't want to say porn, but like swimsuit models on your boxes to distract the guards, and they're like, ooh, a hot girl on this box, and you like break open and shoot them in the face with a tranquilizer dart or real bullets, you choose.
It's all part of the experience, guys.
Yeah.
You really need to immerse yourself. What would you do with all those magazines?
What would you do with all those? Yeah. And so, like, what is the story of Death Stranding? I'm still, like, okay, it's the apocalypse. Yeah. There are these babies who are somehow tied to a different dimension that can sense the other dimensional evil floating ghosts that we see.
The premise that they start at the beginning is really focused on explosions. They said first there was an explosion, then there was another explosion, yada yada. Then there was man, yada yada. Then there was another explosion. So you don't really know exactly what happened, but like the dead and the living are in the same place now. And everything's gone to shit. Things from the beach came onto the shore. Civilization got all over the place. All sorts of destruction. When people die, a giant explosion crater leaves in their wake. So...
All people?
Most people.
Most people.
at the very beginning of the game, you see what happens when someone does die. But
Is it like legit fiery explosion, or is it like a weird energy
like a black and white, really small nuke?
Crazy.
I think that's what it was. It's either that or the black liquid that kind of comes from these BTs or the Death Strandings. It might just like spread over an area, and then everything in it starts falling down because there's this time fall that accelerates aging. Age and time is a very big theme throughout. It's trickled throughout. But you're simply trying to reconnect America. There's a terrorist group that doesn't want everyone to be connected. They've kind of joined the Death Stranding in a weird way. They've sort of evolved alongside them.
Interesting.
When I say not all people die, Norman Reedus is exempt from this.
And the Monster Energy Drink Corporation.
Yes.
And all of its executives.
If Monster Energy Drink died, they would have a soul connection to that can that they could swim back to. That's what Norman Reedus does. Yeah. I figured this out at the very beginning, so I just wanted to see what fall damage was like.
Oh, yeah?
So before I even crossed the first river, I'm like, I wonder if I jump off this cliff into that little pond, if I'd be okay.
I feel like that's like a good hypothesis testing thing to do with all games for all gamers. Yeah. What is the fall damage? Alright, let's jump off this cliff.
Alright, now that I've got free reign, this looks pretty tall. You know that scene with the baby sucking its thumb in its belly? There was just a way more grosser version the first time I died. So just the mental trauma prevents you from wanting to kill yourself. But I think mechanically, you wouldn't lose anything except your cargo, maybe.
Okay.
And then
is fall damage pretty brutal though? Can you fall from a reasonable height without getting damaged or dying?
Yeah, you can usually fall from a reasonable height, and your health, you've got these blood bags that will feed blood back into you. They'll trickle your health back in, but you have to have the item.
Okay.
So it's not super punishing if you fall off a big rock. You may drop your cargo, and then it gets damaged a little bit. I got really peeved because I paused on the side of a cliff. And then when I opened it back up, he's like, "Oh, well, his weight's falling." And drop everything over the edge.
You could have told me while I was paused that I should have been ready to counter this.
Just give me a second of not falling over after I paused. Yeah. Even though if they did that, most people would probably just pause and move throughout the whole game. Yeah. And that's the plot I have so far. I did have one boss fight. Which I do recommend putting it on at least normal. When I was starting it up with my girlfriend, we were both I really don't want to be falling all over the place and getting in trouble for all these packages and shit. But easy was just everything was made of styrofoam. You could just run through the thing.
Just walk literally right through the boss, just tears it in half.
Do you have any other questions without me? Because I don't want to dive into plot because I'd rather leave that open.
Yeah, I don't to be honest. I don't want to say I'm not interested as in I don't care, but I'm just not as interested in the plot as much as just maybe even observing the game mechanics. But again, it's one of those things where I don't really want legitimately to sit and take the time to watch people play the game. Yeah, because it's I want to play it myself first of all. Second of all, I already know it's a tedious game, so I don't really want to watch people. One complaint I heard was that even to turn in one package when you get to a base is literally 30 minutes of cutscenes. You go to this package, you turn it in, it does a scan, it tells you what resources you can get, it gives you the resources, it pulls up a little at
the beginning VR. You do have some hefty tutorial cutscenes, but I think I heard the first 9 hours are pretty slow. I think I've hit that 9 hour mark. Because you can tap X and you can just kind of see their text load on the bottom, and then they start to speak it, and you can kind of like tap through it to go kind of skip through half of it, but you can still read most of it if you're quick enough.
Yeah.
There is a bit of UI slowness, but I also think it's intentional because it's holding buttons is fairly common in the game. So like right after because typically you do your inventory and then you back out after you move everything. That's just kind of like my default habit. I don't know if Skyrim set that up, but you have to hold X to confirm a lot more of the time.
Okay.
So
just to really make sure you're invested in that action.
You gotta hold that.
Yeah, you hold it for just a little bit. Let me know you're serious.
But then at the same time, I feel like you can have so many options to touch things at the screen at once that being able to differentiate between tap and hold gives you a lot more, I guess, UI interactions per location. Because you can have like a carrier, you can set up your own generator or a post box, and you can have your vehicle right next to you. Being able to like tap or hold makes it really nice to go between.
Yeah.
And then, the first half is very slow. You can't deny it. It's very, very spooky. If you kill yourself, it's a little gut wrenching. And falling into a BT when you can see them, because you have to stand still to see these bad guys. You can't even crouch to see where they are. But the baby will kind of give you a heads up, like to hot and cold with you.
Yeah.
But actually being caught is very stressful.
Yeah.
Because the simplicity of losing all your gear is really daunting.
Oh, yeah.
But also, it feels like there's always an opportunity to get out of this goo that starts to create. But then you see everything around you disappearing. And then you start slowing down. And then if you have lots of stuff in your back, climbing up a ledge that could mean life or death, you don't really know. But it adds a really nice... Because if it was just running around, it'd be pretty.
Yeah.
But all these threats just make it more, I guess immersive might be a good word for it. You don't fade out to another place. The soundtrack is really beautiful that accompanies most of the game. I wish we heard Church's song a second ago.
Do you see much wildlife when you're exploring? Like...
No. I don't think there is any wildlife. Well, at the very beginning intro, there are some antelopes.
Okay.
Which is odd, because I don't think I wish I would have seen some more. That would have been nice, but also a little hard to explain.
Yeah.
I think there's a weather system, too. So I think the rainfall, the timefall, you can try to, like, wait it out in certain places or, like, schedule your route after looking at the map. But I don't think I've seen any wildlife after the beginning, which is weird. Oh, yeah. Cryptobites.
What's cryptobites?
They're like a levitating, really thick, juicy, roly-poly looking larva. And this fragile chick in the game, she just eats them all the time. So always offering you these little cryptobites. They give you health back. There's a few of those around.
So if you find them, you can use them too, as like a health item.
A little pick me up,
Yeah, a little pick me up, a little bit of cryptobites.
Monster cryptobite. I don't really know what to do.
Yeah, I feel like wildlife is pretty important in a game. Not that I'm saying it like destroys games that don't have it, but it's one of those things where it's like if it does have it, that's a huge
if it's
bonus.
so empty, but you can actually see something moving.
Right.
There's enemies, there's threats. There's these people called mules who are basically like cargo addicted. And every time you ping to like search your environment for any dropped gear or resources, you can see them show up too if they're close enough. And then they can ping you. And we were on video chat the other night where I told them like, I couldn't find a way across because someone made a bridge that these enemies were using to their advantage. So I had to plan some crazy route and like trick them up the street or up the hill so that I could go down this climbing anchor someone left. But there's enough happening in the environment
that it doesn't really matter if there's wildlife or not.
I mean, wildlife probably would have been nice.
Yeah.
Maybe there might be a few crows here and there.
Well, it's like even just playing Red Dead Redemption 2 online again recently, you notice the difference drastically when the wildlife is spawning into the game properly versus not. Because sometimes it won't spawn into the game just because, again, it's like an online server when you're playing Red Dead Redemption 2 online.
I've seen memes.
But there's times where when the wildlife is spawning in like it's supposed to, it's a completely different game. It's even though I have like, let's say it's one of those moments where there's no wildlife, it's like, well, there's still a lot to do. I can go do this side quest for this person. I can go do this bounty. I can go and I can do this like, just player versus player game mode in like a playlist, like, capture the flag or whatever. I can do like survival based game modes. I can go and I can maybe just do like this actual main quest because there is a main quest line even though it's not that long in the online. Like there's still lots to do, but the feeling of the immersion is so much lower when the animals aren't spawning in properly. And so it's just funny because like hunting is an important part of the game, so that's probably a good reason as to why your immersion goes down when they're not properly spawning in. But having animals and wildlife around, and I think just in games in general, is just a huge addition to the environment and the immersion and the feeling of the game. And so, again, that could be almost intentional with Death Stranding. Like,
I feel like
the title Death Stranding kind of makes me feel almost empty. Yeah.
Because they have the spirits and then they have the mules, but that seems to be most of... Well, I guess there's spirits, mules, and then player-made structures that kind of populate the area.
Right. Yeah. Death Stranding. Yeah, I remember watching the announcement trailer a few years ago. It was like probably even 5 years ago now that I think about it. And just being like... I remember thinking it was going to be an action game, more of an action game at least. And the reason I say that is because, well, it's Hideo Kojima.
Yeah, history.
Most of the games he's made has been pretty action based. Even if it's a stealth shooter, still a lot of action. And I think when you watch like the first initial reveal trailer, it shows like Mads Mikkelsen, his character, like with like a squad of like fully elite soldiers.
And still like, there's so much tension building for me to see that scene.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I'm far into it, but then I'm obviously not at all.
Yeah. And so, I don't know. It's totally fine. Like, it's not even a complaint in my mind, or even something that detracts from me wanting to get the game. It's like, oh, I thought it was going to be more action-based. Like, I don't think I want it as much. And it's like, no, like, it still looks... Like, action or not, the element still looks like something I want to participate in.
Yeah, you start the game off very fragile.
Yeah. Do you think that this game... so it takes elements from a few different types of games or genres, like Dark Souls or even survival games, right? Like, it doesn't necessarily copy them, but it takes elements. Hideo Kojima said that he wanted this to be like a new genre. Do you think that that's going to happen? Like,
do I think other people are going to copy the main gameplay loop?
Yeah, do you think people are going to look at this and be like, I'm going to copy that or add to it, or, or do you think it's just one of those things where it's like, maybe Hideo Kojima was
a little off the chain for anyone else to even consider this being implemented. I think everything... There's a weird layering where all these little oddities seem to interact with each other in a nice way. Like there's the like button turns into a just scream and see if anyone responds to you button in the middle of nowhere.
Wait, how would that work?
I'm Sam! Is there anyone out there? And then occasionally you'll get an echo of someone else saying something.
Oh, so like if they're in the area... Like,
you don't
like
see
the
them.
Same vicinity, right. So, but like in their game,
place.
Okay, so it's vicinity based, even though you can't see them. They're not physically in your game, but you do get the prompt of them yelling, and you
'Cause-
can yell back. Or?
Yeah, you can yell, or you yell, they yell back to tell you if there's someone in the area. But there's also a procedural effect to the environment based on players' interactions.
Okay.
That would be really, but I don't think that's the core. Maybe that is a core mechanic of the game, because people's footsteps over time will create a trail, and if you start connecting these little hideouts and bases, you'll get their player interaction update for the whole territory that it's in. So as you add on different spots, you see what other people added on, and then the popular route that, because the designers didn't really make a route. Maybe they did. Maybe there's an obvious one here and there, but if people figure out like, I can put this crazy zip line or this bridge on this spot, the designers didn't see it, then it kind of grows on it.
Yeah.
The inventory management is very in-depth, but I don't think anyone would want to copy any part of it.
Yeah. No game developer's going to look at that and be like,
You know what? The triggers, we're not using them for anything.
Yeah.
Let's make sure you can
We need to
fall
get those
over.
covered.
And then the inventory is cool because you can see it.
Like in real time, right? Like it's on your shoulder or your leg.
On your
or
shoulder, your back, your bike, your whatever.
What are in those packages? Why is it even relevant? Like why
I
is
found
the
one with
story?
lost underwear.
Yeah, like why
The
is
one
the
had
story?
lost books.
Yeah, it seems like you're literally just a mailman. Like, what can you deliver in the game of significance?
So the most significant thing are the dog tags around his neck.
Okay.
I don't know if you've seen.
Yeah, aren't they like little keys or something?
Little keys. That's like the connection to the main overall network. So that's kind of your first goal or the dream of your faction or whatever is to connect all the cities with that keychain.
Okay.
That's what you make the most impact with, and when you use that keychain, you also update the territory with what other couriers and porters or bridges have gone through.
Okay.
I'm not sure which one of those terms apply to people, but maybe all of them do. But it might be a role playing genre if you like the role play a morning routine. Because you can go poop and pee and shower and then drink a monster and be like, yep, that's how I want to start my day.
Yeah, empty stomach filled with green Monster energy drink just boiling away at my inner lining.
Yeah. Your pee does become a weapon, so it's suggested you drink a lot of Monster.
God. Maybe that's the connection there.
And then, so it's semi-RPG horror, even though it's just like a sprinkle of horror. What other genres on there? It's not an action. There might be some strategy in planning your route.
Mailman delivery service simulator.
Cartographer,
yeah.
Maybe that. It's so. I would have to. I don't know if anyone could replicate it. If someone did try to make a game off of it, I think the genre would be gamer and improved or community created in a way.
I feel like with Death Stranding, Hideo Kojima tried to do some things that he wanted to do with Metal Gear Solid 5. And so to kind of elaborate on that, when Hideo Kojima was creating Metal Gear Solid 5, he wanted it to be the first Metal Gear Solid that was in an open world, which it is. Mm-hmm. It's not linear based, like all Metal Gear Solids have been before. The beginning
was very open.
Yeah. And so he wanted, and I remember him very specifically when he was creating Metal Gear Solid 5, and you would see like the E3 announcements or new trailers, announcement trailers, the trailer that would come the year after. I remember he made a tweet congratulating Grand Theft Auto 5 and Rockstar on making this huge game because, Grand Theft Auto 5...
Monster.
Huh?
Rockstar, not Monster.
Yeah. Oh, did I say Monster?
No, you said Rockstar. I'm just making
Okay.
an
Okay.
interchangeable
Yes. Oh, okay. Yes. I get it now. I am up to date. Yeah. So he congratulated Rockstar on making Grand Theft Auto 5 such a big game. And I remember him I think in an interview or maybe even in that same tweet saying something along the lines of, I wish that I had the resources, imagination, team that like maybe Rockstar had, so that I can make a big, expansive world for Metal Gear Solid 5. Now that I don't think that directly means that he wanted to make a big city versus a podunk area that like is seen in Grand Theft Auto 5. I don't think his focus is like having a big city.
Yeah.
I think his focus is like he wants a big world with a lot to do in it. And of course that lot to do can vary all the way from side quests to maybe other interactions in the environment, all the way to maybe like a main quest takes you here or a side quest takes you here. There's just a lot to do. And even though there is a Metal Gear Solid 5, again, the map, once you get used to it, is actually pretty small. It seems daunting and large at first, but it really isn't. It's actually really small. And there's 2 maps, and they're both about the same size, but they're both really small. And so I think when he was creating Death Stranding, again, this is all completely speculation based on just things I've seen.
Breadcrumbs.
Yeah, breadcrumbs. I'm following the breadcrumbs here, people. I'm trying to find Hansel and Gretel. I think I'm trying to look for my children, looking for the answers to the video game industry. I think when he was creating Death Stranding, he made it as big as it is, but he came to the conclusion that the interactive elements he wanted in the game were, I don't want to say like entirely focused, but a big focus on community created content that makes the game more entertaining or immersive.
Immersion, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it makes the game, because at first it seems like a really big place, but as you connect, you get to go quicker between areas where it still is big, but you can get quicker and quicker to everywhere with cargo, of course.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think when he was making Death Stranding, those were kind of the themes he was trying to fulfill. And yeah, I mean, it would have been cool if Metal Gear Solid 5 was flushed out to its fruition, or like not fruition, but the vision that Hideo Kojima had came to fruition for the game. But Konami are jerks, and they were like, "You're spending too much more of our money," and he's like, "But I'm gonna make it back." And they're like, "No, our shareholders aren't happy. Release the game already."
Yeah.
And he's like, "No, I have to make it better." And then Sony was like, "Hey, they fired you. We'll give you your own studio, and here's a whole bunch of money. Make a cool game." Hideo Kojima was like, "All right,
do it."
Some of this money, I like Norman Reedus. He's pretty cool in Walking Dead. I'm gonna hire him to do so."
What's the Mike guy? The guy that came up with the squad? What's his name?
Wait, the one
the Up From the Ground squad of 4. What's that guy's name?
Are you talking about like in the reveal trailer?
Yes.
Oh, Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Yes.
Yeah, that guy. He's interesting.
Yeah.
Like, even personally, he's just an interesting person. I mean, he's cool. I enjoyed it.
Guillermo del Toro actually pulls off a pretty decent presentation, performance.
Yeah. I've seen some of his little holographic, I don't want to say cutscenes, but holographic animations. And
Yeah.
I was like, oh. Yeah, it's interesting. Give Hideo Kojima more money, and he's just like, I'm going to hire an actor. Well, he wanted to be a director when he started, started his career. He didn't want to go into video games. It's not that he didn't want to. He wanted to be a director for Hollywood. And that's why his games are so cinematic and very, very interesting.
They are, though.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's a really good experience, especially if you're couch playing with someone else. But at this, it's so back and forth, because, oh, I want to share this nice cinematic part with you and this, really action-packed scene. And then it's like, I'm just going to carry these boxes for a while. You can come back later.
Look at how cinematic this character development is during this, 30-minute cutscene. oh, it's over. Don't mind me. I'm gonna carry these boxes across the nation for a bit.
Yeah.
If you come back in about 35 minutes, I think I might be done.
I think the tar might be dry. You can come then.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's kind of how it is. But yeah, so I'm glad Hideo Kojima has his opportunity. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm pretty sure, even though I don't know the ending, I've never looked up spoilers for the ending, but there might be a 2. I mean, well, there might not be, for all I know, because it could be one of those games where it's like, but
there
again.
might be seasonal events.
There might be seasonal. Dude, if there's some freaking snowing and Christmas
If everyone
trees,
can put a Christmas tree up wherever they want to, and you vote
I
for
would
the best
play.
one.
I would buy Death Stranding the day I know that there's community created Christmas trees and presents.
Those crypto bites, they like form in areas where you pee.
Huh.
So if you put more pee in a spot, this like fungal hive will grow until they have those things. Well, if you could just like piss a Christmas tree and wrap it with lights, and everyone would piss on the same one until you find your favorite spot, and then you'd have your territorial tree.
Territorial Christmas tree.
Each like puts
Christmas
a light on
tree. Oh, Christmas. Yeah. No, I would probably like. Again, that's how much entertainment I find from community-driven seasonal content. That literally, if Hideo Kojima or just the creators of Death Stranding announced a Christmas-themed community event where you can put up Christmas trees wherever you wanted to.
Or campfires and maybe marshmallows added to the... Marshmallows last a long time. They can put those into a post-apocalyptic game.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure. It's just sugar.
Or is it what is mallow? Never mind. This is video game, not candy chemistry.
Yeah. Come on, Monster Energy drink is fine. I think marshmallows would be fine too. Yeah. So I don't know. We'll see. I hope that the game has enough success so that Hideo Kojima, even if he doesn't continue Death Stranding with a sequel, that he at least can continue to make games that he wants to make that again satisfy the consumer's need for like good cinematic narrative that's weird and interesting game mechanics.
Yeah.
I think Hideo Kojima's worth it.
It would be... they could, but I have no idea where the ending's going to be. I think I might be a fifth through the game.
Okay.
But if they wanted to, because it just feels like they spent so much time creating this universe that tossing all the assets would be like seppuku.
Yeah.
Because
That's true.
I would want there to be some sort of like semi-futuristic world rebuilding with the BTs just not quite as prevalent, and then you can make it a political game.
Yeah. Yeah.
It'd be cool to see a Death Stranding 2 or like a life pull aparts.
Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting to see maybe where the series goes next, especially because this is why creating a new IP, intellectual property, is so hard for all video game companies. You don't know how the feedback is going to be regardless of how good the idea is.
Yeah.
Did the company who made the game execute it properly? Did the consumers see that vision that was created and enjoy it?
Organic? Was it too stressed out about where you're like, this is the way to do it, and then you realize no one actually likes doing it that way?
And that's the problem with new IPs. That's why they're so expensive, and that's why corporations try to make just a sequel or like a different storyline and spin-off. So I think it's a good idea.
A mobile game.
Yeah. So I think that even though Hideo Kojima giving him his own company, like Sony just being like, "Oh, we like you, Hideo. We're gonna give you your own studio, and you can make the IP you want to make." It's a risky move, but like, it's probably a move that's going to definitely pay off in the long run. So hopefully his studio has some success with this game. Hopefully Hideo can continue to make the games he wants to make, and that they're successful enough. I don't necessarily want to say I wish that they're successful. I just wish that maybe, because like, no, how do I put this? I want the games to be successful if they deserve it, right? I don't want like, oh, it's a Hideo Kojima game, that means I need to buy it. I'm not a fan of bandwagoning regardless of who or what it is. So I hope that the success is earned. I think with Death Stranding, I haven't really looked up the success objectively the game has had, but I know that there's enough consumer and critic reviews and feedback to know that the game has been successful to a measurable degree.
And I think like the indie environment is really going to be into it.
Yeah.
But like the AAA stuff, it's not going to get a lot of attention.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that that's fair. I think hopefully...
But for its longevity or its like reception, I feel like that's a really complicated place to be because it was produced somewhat similar to I feel like its production was along the lines of a AAA.
Yeah, I think so.
Or I guess expectations were, but I guess at the core it was an indie. No, it's not indie because Sony funded it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sony produced and...
There's enough investment that it feels like a AAA, but the core of the game in this new genre, it feels like it's much more indie of a market.
Yeah. So we'll see where that goes. Not only Death Stranding as a intellectual property and game series, but also Hideo Kojima's studio. So again, I was a huge fan of the Metal Gear series, all of them. I loved every single one of the Metal Gear Solid games. Well, as far as like Metal Gear Solid 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Some of the like spin-off games, I was just like, this is okay, or even sometimes pretty bad. But the main games were good, so we'll see. Is there any other final thoughts you have on Death Stranding before we kind of like move on? Because to be honest, I'm kind of out of even things to maybe even ask about the game.
This is just kind of open-ended, but I'm really curious maybe what influence Guillermo del Toro had with the horror aspect of the game.
That's a good point.
Because there's 2 directors technically on the lineup.
Yeah.
Wonder if Kojima is just going to start an alliance with him. Like, we're going to make a movie now. Actually, that'd be dope. If they just made a Norman Reedus Death Stranding movie to make things make sense.
Well, and the funny thing is that all 3 of them working together on Silent Hill, PT, it was PT, right?
I hope so.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Silent Hill
It's
PT.
PT.
But anyway, the demo that they were going to try to make into a full game, but like people are still obsessed about the demo even to this day because it's so good.
It's creepy.
It's terrifying. Like, I've watched
And
playthroughs
intricate.
of it, and it's intricate, and it's so in-depth. It's just a demo. It's literally you just walking down the same hallway every single time with different changes that are disturbing, and whether you notice them or not, they're there, and that should scare you in itself. Like, all right, there's something different about this hallway. I can't tell what it is. You look up, and there's just like a dead body pinned to the ceiling. It's like, oh, cool. Like, it's terrifying.
Is someone remodeling?
Yeah, this is terrible. Or like the pictures of like the family in the hallway is like distorted or different. Like, it's like I almost don't want to pay attention to the detail because if I do, I will be terrified at the details I find.
You can't progress. And then
Yeah,
you're like, I don't want to move.
Turn off my console. I'm done. Yeah,
It's too late for that now.
yeah. I think the 3 of them are a good mix because Hideo Kojima, even his early Metal Gear Solid games have had some truly terrifying moments. Like Psycho Mantis reading your memory card and telling you like that you played Crash Bandicoot, and you're like, how does the game know I played Crash Bandicoot? Like Psycho Mantis is like, I'm gonna read your memory card, and like to legitimately fight against Psycho Mantis, you have to like in the PlayStation 1, you had to unplug your controller from the slot 1 and put it in slot 2, and then you can start doing damage to him.
What?
Yeah, like so.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's like just.
I keep finding these little things that Kojima does that makes me feel like the game is actually connected to my brain, and it's weird.
Yeah, and so I think getting like the perspectives and visions Hideo has, combining them with Guillermo, and like and his perspective on like what horror because if we're being realistic, whether you're a fan of Guillermo del Toro or not, he has a pretty natural sense of like what terrifies humans.
Yeah.
And so he does a really good job of putting that into cinema and even games now that we've seen.
I bet he had design input on the BTs because they don't seem too far out of reach for him.
Yeah, definitely. Just kind of like that eerie, just like... Because Guillermo del Toro, according to my perspective, a lot of his horror comes from like just eerie environments.
Similarly
right?
human,
like,
but just detached enough.
Yeah.
Because I loved Pan Labyrinth.
Yeah, I was going to say Pan's Labyrinth. It was like...
And that, like, hand guy is
Yeah.
the thing that haunted me afterwards. It's like, oh, it's just... It's... The claws are just exaggerated. The
Yeah.
eyes are not normal, but it's so humanoid. And
Yeah.
the temptation of a grape is what's going to get you.
Yeah.
Which I
Exactly.
guess the temptation of a crate is what's going to get you.
Yeah. it's gonna be your downfall. Speaking of temptations, Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I have had
Those crisp paperbacks.
Okay, so I mean, obviously it's clear now. We're moving over to the final topic of Yu-Gi-Oh.
And this is open-ended. This might be all nostalgia because the meta right now seems crazy. I don't know what these new cards.
So I've actually been looking into it, man, and it's not as crazy as you would think. I started playing Yu-Gi-Oh when I was a wee little lad living on a farm. Never lived on a farm, but I was a wee little lad at one time. That is true. And when I started playing, I've always played a card game throughout my life. Always. If it wasn't Pokemon when I was a wee little lad,
yeah.
It was Yu-Gi-Oh when I was in middle school all the way through high school until the end of high school. When I went to community college, I played Yu-Gi-Oh, and I started playing it like competitively. Not like going to like big tournaments, but local tournaments and using meta decks.
I did a few local tournaments, but like bought a card behind the glass case.
Yeah, exactly. And then a few years I didn't play Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I started playing Magic over the past 3 years. So from now I played Magic over the past 3 years. I got really bored with Magic. It was fun. I loved it. I loved the art. I loved the way that the game plays, but it's not as combat focused as Yu-Gi-Oh is. Yu-Gi-Oh is very much I'm going to attack and to win this game.
It's attack stat is basically all you want, all you need.
Yeah.
There's defense which you can use, but
right.
Really who's going to be...
The strategy is how am I going to clear your board enough for me to attack you, right? And then the opposing strategy is how am I going to defend myself long enough to clear your board to attack you?
Or how am I going to counter you quick enough?
Yeah, exactly. But Magic is very much like a turn-based, like...
Foundation setting.
Yeah, I mean, it's fun. I like it. I will never talk bad about Magic because Magic is a good game. But there are just mechanics about it that I personally did not find as gratifying as like that. I'm gonna fusion summon these, I'm gonna fusion these 3 boards and the board's ultimate dragon.
Directly.
yeah. And a lot of times with Magic, even some of the most meta decks are like, oh, I'm gonna attack you for 2 out of like your 20 life point, like your 20 life.
Okay.
And it's like I'm gonna poke you a little bit, and then I'm gonna play this burn card that like I tribute my goblin to like deal 3 damage to you. Like it's just a lot of like poking a lot of the times in Magic, depending on the meta.
Yu-Gi-Oh's very over the top, but that's what makes it fun.
Well, it is. Yes, I love Yu-Gi-Oh because of that. And so even though I haven't played,
is the energy drink of the card game.
Yeah, it is the monster energy drink of the card game world.
Magic can be like the matcha latte or something.
Yeah, and then Pokemon is like
it's Sprite.
Pokemon is the Sprite that your kid
fruity
poured their fruity pebbles like juice drink into. That is not from it's not even real juice. It's like 10% real juice cocktail.
But there's
juice
a
mix.
lot of flavors.
I didn't even play Pokemon the card game when I was a kid. I only collected the cards because it was too complicated for me, and now I know why it was too complicated for me as a kid. It's because it was completely different than how you play Pokemon on like the games, which is how it was first created and even conceived.
Addicted, yeah.
And so it was just weird for me to be like, why do I need this energy to do this attack? Oh, because you just need that energy to do this attack. Why? I don't need that in like the games.
That's not a PowerPoint. If it was a PowerPoint, I'd understand a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so it was just weird for me as a kid, and even to this day, it's weird to me. And I think that the card game. Look, I'm not going to bash anyone who likes to play the Pokemon card game. But if you ask me, it's unrealistic. It's not at all related to the cartoon or the game.
Know how.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where the mechanics don't make sense. They just don't. You can't argue. Like, I understand the idea of, oh, you need this much energy to do this much attack. Okay, that makes sense, but that's not a thing in the cartoon. It's not even a thing in the canon material of the video games. So I don't care like what argument you have. It just doesn't make sense.
Give me the anime, give me the movement, give me the cute characters.
Yes. So, but anyway, so with Yu-Gi-Oh, it's fast-paced, it's intense.
It's got show.
I sold my whole collection that I had on eBay back in 2015. I sold my whole collection.
That's 4 years ago.
Yeah, it was 4 years ago. I sold my whole collection, and it was actually it was like November of 2015. So yeah, almost exactly 4 years ago. I can't say that I've had really many urges to play Yu-Gi-Oh until just over the past week, where I've been seeing Yu-Gi-Oh cards in my Instagram feed, and I've been looking at it, and then I've been having like dreams where I'm like either buying packs or playing in a tournament, and I like woke up in a cold sweat yesterday morning, and I was just like, I gotta play some Yu-Gi-Oh all day long.
My face.
Yeah, I was like all day long. I gotta hold that Blue Eyes White Dragon, man.
I can't feel my life points anymore.
Yeah, where are they? Yeah. And so Yu-Gi-Oh, I think, is probably the most endearing experience I've had with any card game.
How many life points do you typically have in your Yu-Gi-Oh duels?
Well, 8,000.
8,000?
Yeah, I just played by like the tournament rules.
Originally was it 2,000 or 4,000 at like OG?
In the show, it was 2,000 and then 4,000.
But tournament's 8.
Yeah, but like just basic rulebook rules is 8,000. You could do 4,000 if you want to, but that like changes the meta a lot, even if you were. But yeah, so going into the meta, I've been looking up all the new game mechanics for Yu-Gi-Oh! Because there's always, like every 3 years, they change the game drastically in the mechanics.
They have like a season where they just update a new summoning type.
Yep.
I guess they're all special summons, but the special summoning keeps expanding.
Right. So the board now, because they changed it with pendulum summoning, there was like pendulum zones. They completely got rid of the pendulum zones.
Oh, really?
The board looks exactly like the original, just Yu-Gi-Oh layout. 5 monster zones, 5 spell trap card zones, field zone, extra deck, graveyard. Mm-hmm. So it has that cleaner, more organized appearance now. Now, the only addition to the zones is there is I think it's called like a center field zone or center card zone, and you and your opponent have one. They're right in between each of your respective fields. There's just one slot. One is for you, one's for your opponent.
So
you
there's
can't
like a chain
use
between the 10x10s or the 7. Is it 7 wide? It's 14 slots.
It's 5 monsters, zones, and then graveyard
so you
and
have
field zone.
your 2x7 and then like a chain between?
It's not necessarily a chain. Well, I guess it is actually kind of a chain to a degree because you play the zone that exists in between you and your opponent's fields is like the center card. I don't know what it's called. That is where you special summon, and that's the only area where you can special summon from your extra deck now. So if you special summon a Synchro monster, it has to go there, and you cannot by default play any other Synchro or XYZ monsters in your normal zones. It has to go to that zone.
That one zone.
That one zone.
So there's just one of those.
There's only one of those. So if you're going to play your Blue Eyes, so if you're going to play a Fusion monster, it has to go there. If you're going to play a Synchro monster, it has to go there.
That's kind of nice.
But if you want to exploit that rule, which you can, and it is a game mechanic, you play the Link monsters. And the Link monsters have arrows that point to other card zones. And if you play a Link monster in that zone, it will have an arrow that points to different zones. And the zones that it points to, you can special summon from your extra deck to those zones.
So you have to have the Link ones.
Yeah,
now.
so you have to have the Link ones.
No.
So it slows down the game by putting a bottleneck on how often you can special summon from your extra deck.
Just to let the Link monsters have
Just to let
perk.
So the Link monsters are now a new, somewhat, if not mostly, essential game mechanic for you to do your special summoning from your extra deck. There's probably a lot of you who are listening to this who probably don't even know what we're talking about. You're like, what are these guys talking about? I never even played
That's why we
Yu-Gi-Oh!
saved the best for last.
That's why we saved the best for last.
If you wanted to bail out at Yu-Gi-Oh! You had the opportunity. Thank you for staying in.
Yeah.
You're invited to the club.
Yeah. And so...
Get a deck for 2 purchases of $10.
Oh, and the pendulum monsters
Oh yeah.
Now there's no longer a unique pendulum zone for you to put them in. It's just the most left and right spell and trap card zone.
So now you can only do.
So now you have to
3 special
bottleneck.
summons
Well,
instead of 5.
you can do as many if you handed your hand into the monster zones, but
2 of them are taken now.
but 2 of your spell and trap card zones are bottlenecked to pendulum monsters. So you can't have 5 spell and trap cards if you're going to start using pendulums to special summon.
No, it's just...
So now you have to strategically make your deck like, if I'm going to be pendulum summoning,
I only
I'm
have
probably going to
3
want a little
opts.
less spell and trap cards in my deck, so that I'm not like, oh, I have a whole hand of spell and trap cards.
I like all of this except for the link thing.
The link thing I didn't like at first, but after I learned about it, I was like, oh, it's like bottlenecking, because here's the thing. Before even Pendulum Monsters, which is when I quit playing Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, you quit at
I quit
XYZ.
I quit at XYZ, but like the end of XYZ's, and when it was it's like Xyz. Yeah, Xyz, something like that. I stopped at the end of the lifespan of those, and even though they're still making new ones, again, we're focused on it was focused on mostly pendulums, and then after that it was mostly the new Link monsters. So I stopped at the end of the lifespan of XYZs. And I kid you not, in first turn, I can special summon 5 monsters from my extra deck.
Before Xyz.
Yeah. Well,
Xyz.
before the end of Xyz, yeah. I can special summon, like a Stardust Dragon, a Black Rose Dragon, a Trident Dragon.
The swarming is very real in Yu-Gi-Oh.
Yeah, and a Utopia XYZ, and I can play like a Big Eye or a Draco Sack. Just I can swarm
I
the
assume
field.
these are all 8 stars.
Yeah, 7s and 8s. Big Eye was 7.
It's a lot of stars, guys, who are in there.
It's a lot of stars. People are like, what
People
are these
who are
stars?
lost, it's pretty tough.
Yeah, it's like I can explain it to you fundamentally, but that would take too long. It's not
Stars
that
make you
complicated.
stronger.
Yeah. Stars are just levels. So the more stars, the more levels, the better you are at just everything. You win. But yeah, anyway, so I mean, even first turn, I can special summon on average 3 monsters from my extra
now
deck.
it's just 1.
Now it's
Or
like
is it?
now it's like, oh, you're gonna have to play this Link monster, which is somewhat of a heavy cost, and then you're also going to have to then try to special summon to those zones you're limited to. I mean, you can play another Link monster in that zone that does open up, and it will have arrows pointing to other zones that you can special summon into.
Does
right?
it let you special summon into your trap zone?
No.
Okay.
No, it still has to be a monster zone,
Yeah.
but it can point to your opponent's zone. So even though it might open up 2 zones for you, it'll point to an opponent zone, like for one of their zones. It could point to 3 of theirs and 1 of yours, right? But I guess
Can you
that would have to be
use
worth
those
it.
zones?
You can't, but they can. So even if you open up a slot for yourself, you can end up opening up 3 slots, 2 slots, 1 slot for your opponent. I mean, maybe even none, but that's the
The
risk
give and take,
you take is like strategically based on my deck that I have and the deck that they have. Am I going to be willing to risk even opening up 3 zones for them and only 1 for myself to play this card because it's so good?
For the effect on it.
Yeah.
Do they have to be in attack position? You can't rotate them?
Yeah, so Link monsters, they have to be in attack position. They can never be in defense position no matter what. There's no card effect that can ever... It's a game mechanic.
Oh yeah,
Regardless,
they don't have defense.
Yeah, they don't even have defense. They can't be placed
attack is
face down.
important.
Yeah, exactly. There are also new mechanics now that take advantage of that center card zone. Like there's a synchro monster in one of the meta decks now where if it's special summoned to that zone, then it gets like double the attack.
Okay.
And it has 3,000 base attack, so it goes to 6,000, and so which is insane, obviously, because 8,000 life points. That's that's most of it right there if you attack me directly, and so it's and then also it can attack double times if it's in that zone.
That's 12.
Yeah, that's 12. Yeah, so they've really found a ways, but with all of this brokenness of I can just special summon so many monsters. They've countered that now because now there's so much mirror force, which usually in the past, back when I used to play, it was limited to 1, maybe 2. Now you can just have 3 in a deck. Regeki, which was always banned as far as I'm concerned, even back to some of the OG, even before Synchro monsters.
Discard 1 card, destroy all.
No, Regeki is just destroy all monsters your opponents control. That's it. That's the whole card effect. There's no cost. You play Regeki, destroys all monsters your opponent controls. Now, you can have 3 in a deck. It's no longer limited or anything. You can have 3 in a deck. And so the game is so much even faster now, but like it works now because of how fast it is. It's like, oh, you special summon 3 monsters and you're going to attack? I'm going to activate Mirror Force. Oh, well, my Link monsters make it so my creatures can't be destroyed by battle. Okay, well, I'm going to maybe bottomless trap hole, so when you special summon that next one, it banishes it instead of destroying it.
Yeah.
Or like maybe
I'll negate that effect with this monster.
Right, yeah, I'm gonna discard Effect Veiler so I can negate the effect of that monster that is protecting your other monsters, and then I'm going to Mirror Force. You know what I'm saying? So there's the game is so much faster now, but it works.
It's a very counter-based dynamic, which I like a lot about it.
Exactly.
You think you got everything in your hand, and then they got something for it.
Chaos Emperor Dragon, which was always banned, even when I started playing, it's no longer banned. You can have 3 in a deck now.
3 of them?
Yeah, so you can just pay your 1,000 life points, destroy everything on the field. Your opponent takes 300 cards for each card, like damage for each card destroyed. You can have 3 in a deck now. I was looking at the ban list just last night. It's nowhere on the ban list. You can have 3 in a deck, I guess.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
What about the Blackluster Chaos?
Yeah, you can have 3 of him in a deck, I think. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, the game's getting crazy, and I love it. And I think that this was like my brain subconsciously telling me, like, hey, remember Yu-Gi-Oh? It's even crazier.
They peaked it.
Yeah, it's peaky, dude.
You might be agitated with the new things.
Another thing I love is that the economy... Okay, so on average, staple cards. Staple cards...
Go to Walmart today?
So, staple cards... is just the term for cards that are good to use in any deck. It's a staple. Like, you kind of need it.
Yeah.
Or, like, so like Magic Cylinder is a staple card. Because it's just good. You don't have to, but you can use it in any deck.
Monster Reborns.
Yeah.
Are those okay now?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Monster Reborns.
1 or 3?
I think you can have 2 in a deck now.
2.
I think. Maybe 1.
They're too easy to...
I think it's 1. I think you can only have 1 in a deck.
Yeah.
But anyway. So... There are so many staple cards that back when I was playing, back in 2012, a staple card like Mirror Force or like Mystical Space Typhoon, which is probably one of the more valuable ones.
MST.
Yeah, MST.
Those,
if you can find them, even common, averaged $4 to $5. If you can find them like super rare, ultra rare, they can go up to $10, $15. Those staple cards. Now, the market is so deflated and it's a good thing. You can get a super rare one of those for $2 now. You can get a common one for cheap. I mean, they come in pretty much all starter decks. They were even coming in starter decks that I was playing even when I was playing a lot. Like Stardust Dragon, super rare, used to be about $15 or ultra rare. Now you can get it for $2 again.
Well, what about the Link monsters? You see
the Link monsters? So a lot of the meta decks and like the key game-winning cards in the meta decks, those can range from $20 to about $50 on average. Back when I used to play, it would on average range from about $40 to $70.
Okay.
So the buy-in to even have a meta deck has gone
40%?
down. Seems about right. Yeah. So it's gone down almost half in terms of just general value. On the expensive cards, on the staple cards, which you'll pretty much use in most decks you build, it's gone down by almost like 80%. So the buy-in for Yu-Gi-Oh! Now is cheaper than it used to, especially if you're buying single cards, like going online and just buying like the single cards or going to a card shop to buy a single card.
And the access to meta strategies, can you get those in a booster pretty easily, or a starter pack, or?
I mean, you would still
a special deck. Is that what
the what?
Is that the title? A special deck? Because there's structured decks and structured decks.
Yeah. I think structured deck is just the I don't know
the more specified one.
Yeah,
not the intro ones.
Yeah. So structured decks. I think that there is a structure deck out right now that if you were to buy 3 of them and combine the good cards to really make it competitive and fast, you would have, I think, 75% of a meta competitive deck. You would still need to get a few like extra deck cards and link monsters, I think. Again, I'm not 100% knowledgeable on I haven't played the game, but I've been watching YouTube videos on the game recently. Like, I've just been like really wanting to play. I don't regret selling my old collection. I don't. I got money out of it. I didn't play it for the... And
It's been 4 years.
It's been 4 years. And if I were to have that same exact collection and sell it today, I probably would only get about $400 for it. Because again, so I sold at a good time. I sold when my stocks were high. Stonks. So yes. So my stonks went up. And I sold my stonks when they were at a high. So I got more money then than I would now. And I think it's always fun getting into a new hobby, regardless of what it is.
Especially when they have a seasonal update.
It's put a loop the whole podcast.
You made it, guys.
Content. Yeah. So, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to, I'm looking for jobs now, because I'm graduating with my bachelor's, and I'm looking for jobs.
If you want to pay us to play yugioh games at your next party.
Yeah, card tricks. Even though they're not card tricks.
What's your card trick? It's a trap card.
Yeah, you activated my trap card, little boy. Oh, that sounds weird. Yeah.
As long as they don't actually fall in a dark hole.
Yeah. Trap hole. Yeah. So I think
the floor is lava.
I think like my main my main hobby is video games. Obviously, that's the point of this podcast for the most part. The point of this podcast really is just to do something with my time, have conversation, but mostly focus on video games because that's what I'm knowledgeable about, is the industry, things like that. But freaking card games are fun. That's why I've always played them throughout my life. And Yu-Gi-Oh is just, it's like a punch to the face with intensity.
But then with a agile block and a counter
Yeah,
stack.
but I'm gonna activate my trap card. So
it's that really one fighting scene that you with the what?
Yeah, just like a lot of kung fu.
Yeah, it's
Block,
the kung
counter,
fu card game.
Block, counter. Yeah, it's the kung fu of card. Yeah, exactly. So, man, I think I'm gonna have to get into it here pretty soon and make my girlfriend play with me. Would your girlfriend ever play with you? Has she?
She's still making fun of me. I almost gave a nice chunk of cards to her nephew.
Oh yeah.
That was probably one of the proudest moments she's ever had.
I'm pretty
He's
sure.
finally getting rid of some of those.
I'm pretty sure that my girlfriend will refuse, and so will yours. But we should have a double date night Yu-Gi-Oh duel.
We could have a gamer girl talk too at one point.
Yeah.
Gamer
We should bring our
girlfriend
girlfriends on to talk. I know my girlfriend really wants to just probably talk about cute animals in games. It's totally fine with me. She's probably going to focus in on
Cute
dogs and
animals
birds.
deserve the time, though.
Yeah.
It's a shame we haven't already had a cute animal episode or topic.
Yeah, there haven't been... Look, I play all
I
games,
love
right? So
Nintendo
even though we've
dogs.
talked about Call of Duty through most... Call of Duty is just a big topic, right? There's a lot to cover. But I play pretty much all major games and a small handful of indie games. So I'm sure that if we were to pull out the whole
Cooking
Pillager
Mama.
Ascenders game... Ooh, better than Mama. Great job.
It's a good game.
It's a good game, man.
Oh, wait, no, Uncooked, not Cooking Mama.
Oh,
Both.
yeah. Well, but I'm pretty sure I'd be able to find some animals that are worth talking about. Okami. I've played Okami within the past year. Play as a dog. Fucking cutest dog
Was
in the world.
it
dude.
the fox one or just dog?
Just dog.
Did you see that cute fox one?
Okami Amaterasu.
The shell shaded one?
Yeah.
That one looks cute.
It's a good game. It won Game of the Year in 2005, and it even beat Twilight Princess for Game of the Year in most outlets.
Alright.
It's good.
That's an option. That's
But
an
as a
option.
dog who just never talks, you just have a little fairy like you do, like Link does,
Hey.
who talks for you. But yeah, it's fun. It's a good game.
Sounds lovely.
It's one of the few games that made me tear up at the end. It's a pretty good ending. I'm not gonna spoil it. I refuse to. You guys are gonna have to go play it. It's available on like every console now for like less than $10. So
I mean, if it's involving a dog and crying, I'm not sure if I'm really up for it.
it's a lot of emotional
It sounds
investment.
got a lot of heartstrings getting ripped right
Yeah.
there.
It kind of is. It's just okay.
Probably sounds like this.
It wasn't even a sad ending. It wasn't even a sad ending. It was just so uplifting that I was just like,
Okay.
This is like it's very uplifting ending. Yeah.
Actually, that sounded even more painful.
Yeah. So, anyway, going back to Yu-Gi-Oh! I want to play it. I need to play it. I want to start making a deck and go into tournaments.
I want a link card now.
Yeah. Well, if you don't have a link card, you can't play all those cards right there.
I have so many monsters. I want a special summon.
Monsters. How am I going to do that? Those have link monsters.
Wait, so you can only special summon in the middle zone?
You know, initially, right? So if you special summon any monster from your extra deck, it has to go to that middle zone.
Extra deck. Okay, cool. My extra deck is pretty empty.
So
I can still flood
if your
the
deck,
base.
yes, you can still flood the base spots from your hand to graveyard deck.
But the extra deck is okay.
Yeah, but if it's gonna come from the extra deck, it has to go to that middle card zone.
Screw a few pooches.
Yeah.
Actually, no, that's not the terminology I wanted to use. But
another thing that's very problematic with Yu-Gi-Oh, let alone all card games, is that they are addicting as crap, and buying new packs is the only thing that gives you the adrenaline rush in your life.
everything is dull and overcast until you get that crisp, vaguely
Ultra,
aluminum plastic.
Yeah, vaguely. And my girlfriend's giving me a hard time. She's like, babe, look.
We have a budget.
Not only that, she's like, every $10 you spend on cards, that could be $10 of snacks for your girlfriend. And I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
If you invested those $10 of snacks over an annual interest rate,
yeah,
you could have 1.2 snacks in a year.
So that's the problem. It's a hobby. You gotta try to.
That's an extra thing of yogurt in your 6-pack.
Oh yeah. So I've always played them. I have to play them. I don't have a choice. They are coming back in the circle of life to claim what was originally theirs, and that is my soul and my money and my time. And that's, I'm just gonna have to give it. I don't have a choice. And if I were to choose, I'd choose to play them. So there we go.
I think I made my choice.
I think I made my choice. So that's where we're at. That's the majority of the content for this podcast. Follow, subscribe, hang out with us. Stay average, because we wouldn't want you any other way. See ya.